Okay, in this video we're going to do with factoring trinomials with the lead coefficient that is greater than 1. Okay, so we're going to be learning with factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, we're going to use box method and table method that we use to factor trinomials with the lead coefficient greater than 1. Okay, so greater than 1, in the previous video I showed you examples that only had the lead coefficient as 1, but in this video we're going to deal with ones that have 5, 4, 10, and 4. We have another set, they're down here. Okay, so I just go ahead and start it off. So we have 5x squared plus 11x plus 2. Then we have to just put it into our box method. So we have box. And so we have 5x squared and 2. Okay, so first term goes into the top left corner of the box. 2, our last term goes into the bottom right corner of it. Okay, so then now we have to look for factors of 10. Do you see how I did that? You multiply the lead coefficient by the last term. So you have 5 times 2 gives you 10. We have to find factors of 10. Whenever they're multiplied, they give you 10. And whenever they're added, they give you 11. Okay, so our C here is a positive, and so our B is positive, so that means all of our factors will be positive. So 1 plus 10, 11, 2 plus 5, 7. So we're looking for the 11, so here it is. We have 7, that's not it. Then we use these factors that we found, positive 1 and 10, and we put them inside our box. So we would have x and 10x. Okay. Now be careful not to forget your x's in the box, because this is where we're going to use GCF to find the missing parts, the missing factors. So we have 10x and 2. What's GCF there? 2. 2 fits into 10. And 5x squared and x. What's our GCF in that row? It should just be the imaginary 1 and also the smallest exponent of the 2, so it'll be x to the power 1. So x to the power 1. Okay, now right here we can just find, we just use multiplication. So x times what gives you 5x squared? Should be 5x. X times what gives you x to the first power? It should be plus 1. Okay, it's positive. And now you can go ahead and double check. 5x times 2 gives you 10x. 1 times 2 gives you 2. And so our answer here would be x plus 2. And 5x plus 1. Okay, and that's it. That's it for that case. Now you can use FOIL here to double check your answers to get this. Okay, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Okay, so this one we have 4x squared minus 9x plus 5. We set up our box. So we have 4x squared and 5. First term goes in the top left corner. Last term goes in the bottom right corner. Okay, now we gotta find factors of 20. So we have 20 plus, and they have to add up to a negative 9. Okay, so our C term is a positive, and our B term is a negative. Okay, so let's see how that's done. Okay, we have factors as 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Okay, so we have a positive C, so that means all of our numbers, all of our factors will have to be a negative according to our B sign. So all these are negative. So negative 1 minus 20, negative 21. Negative 2 minus 10, minus 12. Negative 4 minus 5, minus 9. Okay, and there it is. Not these. So here, we gotta split them up. So we have negative 4 x, and we have negative 5x. Okay, make sure you add the variable that we're trying to get to. So here we can try to get to negative 9x, and so we had a negative 4 and negative 5. We just needed to add our x variables. Okay, so now let's try and look for our missing binomials. So we have negative 5x and 5. GCF there should be 5. Okay, now pay attention to the negatives that are diagonal here and see how they're going to affect each other. Okay, so let's go on to our top row. So we have 4x squared and negative 4x. Then we're able to pull out a 4 and also an x. So remember, these are GCFs. So then 4x times what gives you 4x squared? It should be just x. 4x times what gives you negative 4x? So you be a negative 1. Okay, so you see how this negative 1 affects everything that's in this column? So it has a negative 4x, but there's a positive 5. Now, and over here we have a positive 5x, so positive 5, so, and we have a negative 5x. So what does that mean? We got to turn this one into a negative. And our final answer will be x minus 1 and 4x minus 5. Okay, and there it is. Right there. Now, this one. We have 4a squared plus 8a minus 5. So we got to put it into our box. And we have negative 5. And now we got to look for factors of 20 to add up to 8. Okay? So then we have 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Okay? So we have a negative c. So then that means our signs will be different for our factors. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. Now our b value tells us which big factor will be positive. So c is negative, so our factors have different signs. B is positive, so that means our big value will have a positive number, meaning that the other factor will be negative. So then we have a negative 1, negative 2, and negative 4. Okay? So then negative 1 plus 20 would be 19. Negative 2 plus 10 will be 8, and that's the 8 we're looking for. Okay? And double check here, we have 1, that's it. So 8. So here will be negative 2x and 10x. Okay, so whenever we add 10x minus 2x, then we have an 8a. Oh, sorry. This should be a. Okay, so then 10a minus 5. Okay, we got to look for the common GCF there, and so it should be 5 between 10 and 5. And then 4a squared and negative 2a. We have to look for GCF, so it would be 2 between the 4 and the 2. And the smallest exponent of the 2 will be a to the first power. Now then, 2a times what gives us 4a squared, which will be 2a. Then we would have 2a times what gives you negative 2a will be a minus 1. So then our final answer, let's say this negative 1 affects everything that's in here, and just go ahead and double check negative 1 and 5, negative 5, 2a and 5 gives you 10a. So then final answer is 2a plus 5 and 2a minus 1. Okay, and there it is. Alright, so then we have a couple more examples. Then we have 10x squared minus 9x minus 1. Okay, now if you notice from the last time, actually never mind, I'll just keep going on. So we have 10x squared and negative 1, put it inside our box. And we gotta look for factors of 10. Multiplying these two numbers and we just get 10. Alright, multiply and add to negative 9. So we have 1 and 10, and then 2 and 5. All right, our c is negative, so then our big factor will have to follow that. Our big factor will have to be a negative. Okay, so whenever you have a negative, that means both of our factors are going to have different signs, and our b value tells us that our bigger factor will be a negative, meaning that the other one will be a positive. So our big one here is 10, big one here is 5. So then 1 minus 10 would be negative 9, and then 2 minus 5 will be minus 3. Okay, so we have minus 9. Oh, sorry. So we have minus 10, x, and x. Okay, so imagine the imaginary one there. So then now we can start looking for the GCF of each row. So x and negative 1, the common factor there would be a 1. And then 10x squared and negative 10x. A GCF there should be a 10 and 1 single x. So then 10x times what gives you a 10x squared, which would be x squared. Oh, sorry, should be x. 10x times what gives you negative 10x, should be a negative 10. Okay. Actually, my mistake. It should be a negative 1. So go ahead and just double check your answers inside. 10x times x, 10x squared, 1 times negative 1, negative 1. All these are negative, negative 1, and 10x will be negative 10x, and x and 1 will be x, and our final answer would be 10x plus 1, x minus 1, and that will be it for that one. Now we have this one. We have all negatives involved here. So then what we need to do is we need to rewrite it. So we have negative 9x squared minus 9x minus 2. So then pull out the negative. So we have negative 9x squared plus 9x plus 2. Okay, so whenever we pull out the negative, it changes the signs that was inside here. So then all these are positive. And so we're able to use our original method that we've been doing with box and table. So we have 9x squared and 2. And then we have to look for multiples of 9 times 2, so it'll be 18. Factors of 18. So whenever they add, give you 9. So we have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, 4. Okay. So then our C value is positive and our B value is positive, meaning that they're all positive. Okay. So then 1 plus 18, 19, 2 plus 9, 11, no, no, 3 plus 6, 9, yes. Okay, so we put it into our box, so 3x and 6x. Now our original answer here, so our answer in the end will have to look like this. Okay, we just pull out the negative in front. So then we have to look for all the GCFs. So 6x and 2, GCF there should be just 2. And then 9x squared and 3x, GCF there should be 3 and also x. And then 3x times what gives you 9x squared should be another 3x. So 3x times what gives you 3x. So 3 plus 1. Okay. So then our final answer would be, 3x plus 1, 3x plus 2. Sorry, a little bit off the screen. Alright, so final example. We have 2n squared minus 7n minus 4. So then just been put into our box. This should be automatic. And we're looking for factors of 8. So whenever they multiply, they give you 8, and then whenever they add, they give you negative 7. So we get 1 and 8, then 2 and 4. So our C is negative, meaning that the signs of the factors will be different from each other. And our big factor, according to our B, will be negative. So be negative 8 and negative 4. So then whenever we add them, we get 1 minus 8 will be negative 7. 2 minus 4 will be negative 2. And we're looking for a negative 7. So here it is. And not the negative 2. So then inside our box is going to go the n, 1n, and the negative 8n. Okay. So then let's start looking for the GCF. Then we have GCF of negative 8n and negative 4 should be a negative 4. Whenever you have two negatives sitting right next to each other, side by side, then you're able to pull out a negative from in there. So then top row, we have 2n squared and n. We're able to pull out one imaginary 1, and also the smallest n value in there. So n to the first power. So the n times what gives you 2n squared should be another 2n. And then n times what gives you n to the first power should just be another 1. So our final answer here should just be 2n plus 1. And then 1 times n minus 4. So that 1 doesn't really change n at all. So we could just leave it as n by itself. So minus 4. And that's it for this video. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.